Welcome everybody to the newest edition of Final Score Overtime, National Championship Edition. What a game last night, you guys. That was super, super exciting. What are your guys' first reactions coming out of the gate?
Well, I think I was surprised at the slow start, I guess from both teams, kind of. Defense playing really well, and then I was really shocked by LSU to start off with, pinned up against their own end zone like twice in their first few possessions.
The first half MVP is the punter for Clemson for them.
Yeah.
I mean, he buried them inside the 5, what, 3 times? 4 times?
Yeah, I know definitely the first 2 drives they started inside the 5.
Yeah, so I guess just the start was kind of surprising overall. I think the fact that LSU came out of that is not as surprising.
Sure.
But I think we all kind of expected, at least this group here expected this was how the game was going to wind up.
I was potentially worried for LSU of like a lower scoring game where they wouldn't be able to have their way offensively, and they'd still maybe win, but I was surprised given how they started that it turned into, I mean, they got down by like 10 too.
Hit the over, huh, Ben?
Well, speaking of a low-scoring game, I was waiting
I
to
had
tee
the
off.
under.
At 69.5.
At 69.5. I didn't actually have it, but I thought that was like, the over was ridiculous. And
was
then
close.
it looked really good early.
If LSU
I was prepared to self-report violations after internal investigation, lack of institutional control. Although
Institutional.
barely. I mean, honestly, too, just because LSU like took a knee at the very
Yeah,
end, if they would
yeah,
have
yeah.
taken the field goal, like so.
We were watching the end of the game
how
last
about-
night, and I said, "Oh, LSU's covering. They don't need to score here. If they needed to hit the over, though, I didn't even realize how close
They
it
marched
was."
down the whole field and then kneed
I
on
know.
their doorstep.
And they on the 4th and 3, like they could have easily maybe tried to kick it, but they went for it.
Yep.
That was big. So
And then what play also stood up in my mind was like that 60-yard completion that Trevor Lawrence had to, I almost called him T. Grizzly again, T. Higgins, that they called off for OPI. And then they ended up punting. And that was de facto the game.
That was a very questionable.
Very
offensive-
I think that's probably.
I mean,
no
people
call.
were saying on the broadcast it could have been a defensive pass interference. Just because
I think-
usually when hand fighting goes both ways, you usually lean.
no call.
Towards
That's what I
defense.
do.
I
Okay.
see. There was so much hand fighting early in the game that
We were talking about
We
this.
were talking about this, and there was a couple of plays where we disagreed, on whether you should have flagged that or not. And I mean, really, in the end, it's how you want to call that game. And they were letting them fight early. Then there was a couple ticky-tack ones in the second half. So I got a little confused there. But I don't know. It's just kind of the way it goes. And I mean, a 17-point victory, yeah, that touchdown would have swung things a little bit, but 17 points, and they were knocking on making it 24.
Yeah.
LSU was the better team.
Yeah,
And
I think LSU went down and scored the next drive anyway, so that would have
Yeah.
been a moot point for whatever it's worth.
Did you guys have any thoughts on the targeting call with their linebacker?
It's
I
a
think-
shame that he has to be kicked out of the game.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that that's actually, by definition, targeting.
It sounds like it. I did not realize the part about the rule about crown of the helmet doesn't matter where there's impact. I didn't realize.
Yes, it does not matter where you hit as long as you lead with
Yeah.
this. That's going to.
I think there should almost be a part of the targeting call that is up to discretion as far as ejection. I mean, I get the desire to,
So like some subjectivity, almost like intent.
like based on either intent or I would say like recklessness. Like you could not have intent but just be like out of control and you can light somebody up.
the problem is, it's not about the player he's hitting safety at that point when you're spearing someone like that. That dude can break his neck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to get that out of the game of football. It's not really you're going to hurt this guy super, but you're going to hurt yourself, and if you break your neck and you're paralyzed, like
No,
you don't like to see that.
I don't even necessarily disagree, I guess, with it being a penalty. The ejection seemed harsh, and he was a big player.
That's a really hard way to leave the national championship
Yeah.
game behind.
And he was having a game.
He was having a
was
great
having a
game.
really
Him
good
and
game.
Simmons were maybe the 2 best players on the field for Clemson's defense.
Simmons, that dude's first round caliber all
Yeah.
over.
We were talking
how
about him in the
long
first
he
quarter,
was. He
too.
was covering receivers.
Yeah.
He is.
He
That
went-
is a talented guy.
He went from one play to rushing off the right side of the line to the next play. He guarded Clyde Hilaire.
Edwards-Helaire,
lined up
yeah.
wide. So
Yeah.
he went from basically playing a defensive end role in that Venables defense to then playing cornerback, man-to-man on the
They were playing a
the wide receiver.
3-1-7
Yeah.
all night. That's insane. I can't.
With
I
with
didn't know it
Simmons
was the
playing
thing,
one of
to be
those 7
honest.
kind of floater linebacker safety type roles. And it's funny because last year the way Clemson dominated was the 4 defensive linemen up front. They played a lot of like multiple coverages behind them. But it was like we're playing with it's like you got to block our 4, running, passing, like you got to block them. And this year was a totally different mindset, plan of attack.
I didn't realize this either, but I guess that's what Auburn. They were saying that's what Auburn did when they were the only team to somewhat slow LSU down. So I guess good on Brett Venables. Another thing I did want to ask the panel, and Aaron, I'll go to you, our resident Tiger fan correspondent. I just feel like LSU, of any team that you're not actually a fan of, or like unless you're an SEC fan, maybe a Texas fan this year, Texas A&M fan, like, are they not one of the most likable teams?
It's Ed
I think it has a lot to do with
there's
Coach O.
just so much about it, and the fan base there. Like, I can't imagine a non-SEC fan that was not happy to see LSU.
Yeah.
Maybe you wanted Clemson to go, but I mean, it's hard not to like that team.
I feel like unless you're like one of those schools that you mentioned or from the state of South Carolina, you're gonna want LSU to win just because of Coach O's story specifically, and Joe Burrow, of course. But
Edo 10-25 at Ole Miss, and then not getting that USC job
After deserving. Players carried him off the field, and then Pat Hayden took his job away.
Yep, and you
coming
just feel
back to his
bad
home
for the guy.
state.
You want to see this guy. He grew up in Louisiana. That dude embodies what being an LSU Tiger is, and I think it's hard as even just an outside person to look at that and just not want to see that guy be successful, because he's had such a tough road, and he's such a good coach. He's had such a tough road to get here, and now finally he's at like the peak, and it's just like, okay, good, Ed got one. Like, now I don't want to see LSU win again for a while, but I'm glad he got one.
And Clemson won last year, so
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do want to. I was also going to point out we talked about it a little earlier. The third down play for Burrow right before the half.
Right before the half.
Huge gutsy call that they don't have any timeouts there.
No.
So he's got it. Now,
He's
it
gotta
did
get the
seem
first
like
down.
it was designed to get him to the sideline, to even if he wasn't going to get the first down, he could safely get out. But I thought that was a huge gutsy call. Mm-hmm. And then Clemson, to your point, I think they'll be back next year. I think they're probably. I'd have to look closely.
I think they are Vegas odds to go.
I was gonna say that. I think they got to be the favorite. It's weird because for me, I always think this is an interesting part of my Clemson fandom experience as the son of a Clemson Tiger. I was at the Orange Bowl game where they got smoked by West Virginia, and they gave up like 70 points. They absolutely obliterated. But because of that game, they fired their defensive coordinator and brought in Brett Venables. Possibly the best thing to have happened to them in
promoting from within, hiring Dabo out of the wide receivers coach.
I remember that. I thought that was gutsy, but once he kind of got it turned around to where they were perennial ACC contender, but not really a national brand. It's so weird to think that game was probably the best thing that ever happened to them, to transform that defense into this national powerhouse.
Yes. I mean, 2 years in a row.
Dabo Swinney in his first bowl game ever as head coach.
I guess Nebraska.
Nebraska, number 1.
Hey, there it is.
Back in 08.
Venables is a guy I think who should be getting a lot more looks. Maybe not even like for head coaching jobs, but like at least going to coach on Sundays.
Well, it sounds
this is 2 years in a row where his defense has been so dominant all year.
My understanding is,
and in different ways.
He's
Because
not
that's how
like-
you win in the NFL. You win in different ways.
Yeah.
Year to year, almost week to week, you have different roster changes, different matchups.
He was running different defenses all year, it felt like.
Yeah.
And I mean, just to throw a 3-1-7 into the national championship game that you maybe have run once that year, like, that's so gutsy, and it worked. It worked for the first
It was
LSU's talent, Jamar Chase, Burrow, Jefferson. They were going to get theirs. But, I mean, it worked for quite a while. He's going to get some looks.
I was going to say, my understanding with Venables, not only he's obviously paid really well, but like I keep reading this stuff, and you hear about like he's just a different kind of guy that is, I don't want to say he's not ambitious, but he's comfortable with where he's at, and he doesn't he's got a good thing going, and he's content with being an elite, DC on
an elite team.
Yeah, and so I mean, I get it. And maybe I don't know. Dabo's pretty young, I guess, but maybe if Dabo were to ever leave, he could step up. I don't know.
Yep.
You would get that nod. At least
A
that's
couple
how it feels.
individual performances that need to be pointed out. Burrow, 31 of 49, 463, 5 touchdowns, 58 on the ground, and a rushing touchdown. Jamar Chase, this is the one that was amazing to me. 9 receptions, 221, and 2 touchdowns. Like,
That the DB Auburn. I think his name is Terry. His last
Yeah.
name is Terry the Third or something. I mean, I'm sure he's a great player. He did not have a good Monday night.
No.
I think he gave up 8 catches to
Terrell?
Jamar Chase, all behind him.
Terrell?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's tough. What can you do? That's the Biletnikoff winner. Like you know they're going to throw it your way, and even if you're a great cornerback, it's like, well, I'm going to try my best. But man, Clemson has players all over that defensive side of the field.
They do.
Oh.
And Jamar Chase should have had another one. Remember, he dropped the other
He
one.
dropped the one.
Like,
Was
wide
that
open.
Jefferson or Chase that dropped?
That was Chase.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So he could have 3
because
touchdowns.
Chase Menendez, our weatherman, he was like, "Oh, you're soiling the name of
So
Chase."
the name-
He's from
he
Louisiana
he had
too.
some more colorful language to go along with it.
Yeah.
Another performance, you guys, that I kind of want to talk about after seeming unstoppable in last game. This game coming in, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, overthrows,
13
miscues,
13
bad
overthrows.
feet, footwork, just a lot of stuff that you expected him to do in his sleep. He was not. He was missing.
He looked uncomfortable in the pocket the entire game. He never had a moment where you were like, "Oh, there's Trevor Lawrence." And he had a couple passes that he hit guys in the hands, and his receivers weren't coming down. I just remember one distinctly. It was like an out route, and guy was coming towards the sideline. He hit him right in the hands up top, but it was a little high. I'll give him that, and there was some good coverage. But I mean, he wasn't getting a lot of help from his receivers either. It felt like that entire game.
I mean, I think the only thing you could contribute that to, though, is LSU's defense, because it's not as if Trevor Lawrence hasn't been in this position before.
No.
So
They were down 16
It literally
last
was
week.
last year.
Or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, I agree with all that.
yeah.
There we go. It's just
Any other players, kind of performances that you think kind of stood out, something that you felt like was worth of note?
I mean, on the edges, I guess. I do want to say Stingley sounds like a perennial, like, all-star for the Rays infield in Tampa Bay. That's all. It's just a total
Who is
irrelevant to
their
football.
Delpit? Delpit had a
Delpit's
heck of
yeah,
a game.
beast.
And that
I've
freshman
loved his game the
cornerback,
whole
I
year.
can't remember what the freshman cornerback's name is, but Delpit had that forced fumble, and that freshman
Yep.
picked it up, and that sealed the game.
Yep.
And it was just, he had a great game. The defensive backs for LSU had a great game all around.
It's funny you say that because I remember last week on our show, the matchup you were looking for was the Clemson defensive backs against the LSU wide receivers. And for 3 quarters on, it could not really have been more one-sided.
Yep.
And I think a lot of that is worth, I mean,
Yeah.
2 touchdowns to Jamar Chase, probably should have been 3 with the drop. I mean,
It's tough.
that's how you win and lose
Yeah.
that game.
Yep. But I mean, season's over. We got our top 25 that the AP just released today, Tuesday, and I mean, we have some the top 5 here, and then I have the full rankings. But are there any big surprises you guys saw,
Let's see.
to finish out the year?
Top 5, LSU, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia 4, Oregon 5. I guess it's fair. Who was the other? Oklahoma dropped down to
Alabama
7.
is not the 8th best team in the country.
Alabama 8. That's a little surprising.
Who was
Florida
6?
6.
Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with all of that.
I would flip Alabama and Florida.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think Oregon should be number 4. I was saying that to you guys off the air last week. I really think Oregon, had they not dropped that game in conference, I can't remember who they lost to, I think that team puts up a better fight against LSU or Clemson or Ohio State than Oklahoma did. But,
Who was Penn State's bowl game against?
Memphis.
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 That's right.
Good old
Baylor,
American Athletic
13 in between, Notre Dame up top, Auburn below them. This is fun. 17, 18, 19. 17 Memphis, 18 Michigan, and 19 Appalachian State. 20 Navy. I don't think that's the crew.
Cincinnati, 21.
Yeah, I don't think that's the crew Michigan wants to be like
Running
hanging out
around
with
with.
at the lunch
You got
table.
your G5s pretty
Air
much
Force,
all right
Boise
there.
Air
State,
Force,
UCF.
Boise State, UCF,
And
and,
then-
Texas.
And
Hook 'em.
let's not even. Actually, no, I'll bring it up. The G5 team that should be there.
Let's see.
that is
I wanna
not
see their
there after their
receiving
best
votes. Oh,
season
no.
in
Oh.
40-something years. My
SMU only
ponies.
received 10
Texas A&M
votes.
would have been 26th.
Yep.
Let's see, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. SMU 33.
I mean,
That's about fair. That is, I would put that
They
at
can't
not
bear
fair.
ball.
what was it, like 9-0.
Dude, they got smacked in that bowl game that you
They
told us
did.
to trust you on. They
No.
should be
It was an away game. It was a true away game. We didn't know who we were going to be playing against in terms of a coach. There's a lot of
It sounded like
instability in that
excuses
matchup.
to me.
Excuses. My biggest thing, North Dakota State receiving 2 votes
Ooh,
in
2
the AP
votes.
poll.
They won the Natty too.
They
right?
won the net. They ran away with the Natty.
Yeah.
That North Dakota
So-
State
Shout out
is
North
good.
Dakota State.
So a D1 AA school got votes to be ranked as a D1 single A program.
Yeah, I think technically
They've
the AP poll
done it
is.
before.
Yeah. It's happened a time or two.
North
I don't
Dakota
think
State's
it's
never
even-
been ranked, but they've received
Yes.
votes multiple times after. I mean, they've won 8
Appalachian
national
State, I
titles
think, got
out
some
of 9.
votes back when they
Yep.
had like a mini dynasty going around
Yep.
the time where they beat
Interesting.
Michigan. So
Yeah, I don't
see
know.
Syracuse on here.
Washington, USC, Arizona State, all just missing out. Tennessee receiving votes. That
Yeah.
kind of blows my
Okay,
mind.
Vols.
they had a
Congrats to the
strong finish,
Longhorns.
right?
I guess
They really
you're
did.
technically back. You're in the top 25 for the
Kansas
end of the
State
year.
receiving votes. Shout out Big 12.
I like that.
I don't know. Iowa, 15.
I saw
I don't
that.
know.
I think Utah, after getting whooped by Texas, goes down to 16. Goes down 4 spots to 16. I think you could have maybe argued they should have dropped further.
Yeah, I would have put them at 20 or 21. You
Yeah.
could bump up that entire list up past them. But, I mean, I don't know. Michigan, 9-4, finishing 18. Harbaugh, is this
Yeah.
the beginning of the I mean,
That's why I thought for Splashy Hire, Harbaugh would have been a fun name for the Cowboys. He's
it's
probably on the hot seat at Michigan somewhat.
Yeah.
He's been to a Super Bowl. I thought that would have been cool.
Yeah.
And if he, it's like the Urban Meyer hire with NFL experience.
Yep.
I can't stop looking at North Dakota State.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it?
FAU 27 right behind Texas A&M.
Yep,
A lot of G schools getting some
Yeah,
love.
getting some love from
That bottom half.
17 down.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you can't put a
Yeah,
G5 school in the top 15.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't.
We were there for a little bit. Coming up next, we will wrap up our college talk now that the national championship game has concluded. We will move on to the NFL playoffs, specifically next week's matchups coming up in the divisional round.
Playoffs.
Playoffs.
We talking about playoffs?
When you got a big job, you need a reliable work truck. From flatbeds, roustabouts, and crane bodies, it's all here at Stanley Ford Andrews. Our fleet sales crew can get you in the right truck for the right job. No one has more in stock than Stanley Ford and Andrews.
And welcome back to Final Score Overtime. Time now to break down some NFL games that we saw this past weekend. Let's go
do
first to the Titans and Ravens game. You guys, this was a huge surprise for me. I'm sure it was for you guys
Yeah.
as well. This was my Super Bowl my Super Bowl favorite, the Baltimore Ravens, losing to a wild card team that, if
Nobody
you asked me a few weeks ago, the Titans were going to draft a new quarterback, going to start a rebuilding process. Mike Vrabel, I don't want to say was been on the hot seat because he's only been there for so long, but just like the 180 that they have been through has been amazing.
It's all
And
because
then-
that West
Hey.
Texas football.
Shout out our guy,
Do it. Go ahead.
Ryan Tannehill. Well, it's funny. He's gone through both of these playoff games. I don't think he's passed over 100 yards in either.
No, he hasn't.
This past game, 7-14.
He doesn't need to with Derrick
88
Henry.
yards, 2 touchdowns. But I did actually watch something on Pro Football Focus. They were doing a video kind of breaking it down. And they said, essentially, if you go by the numbers, the reason, and this is obviously true, they had the big touchdown pass. Henry took over late to kind of close it out.
Yeah.
But they basically got up because of their ability to throw the ball. So shout out to Mr. Tannehill one time. But yeah, I mean, I was stunned. I was actually kind of with some Ravens fans while this was happening. And you see the 14-0 comes within, of one possession at the half. But my goodness, I mean, that's the danger about a team like the Titans, you know.
And
Shorten the game, anything can happen.
Derrick Henry, that has been an amazing turnaround story as a running back in the NFL. He was kind of busty early in his career, and now 200 near 200 yards. in the
180
past,
last 3
2
games.
Who has had a playoff performance like this as a running back in the NFL? Who, he had a good season this year. I can't remember last year him being this good. Or
I think he had moments, I
just
want to say,
insane.
but I don't think he was this certifiable beast like he is.
I love watching him run because he's so tall and he stands straight up and down. It's kind of funny. It looks like he's not moving very fast. It's my favorite thing watching him break away because it just doesn't look right. He's so tall to play running back.
Yeah, some of my favorite things are pictures of him like standing next to Dion Lewis. There's another one. I think when they were going to the national championship
With
game.
Mark.
Yeah, he's standing next to Mark Ingram and just like, making him look like a dwarf. And
Yeah.
like, these are NFL quality players. And I mean, it's just, how big is he? Like 6'3", like 250 almost?
Yeah, 6'3", something. I
Yeah.
mean, last year he had 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, 1,059 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's not really a huge receiving running back. I think that's probably why he doesn't feel. It's all. To your point about watching him run, he's like I think because he's so tall and I guess his strides are so long. I always think it doesn't really look like he's running that fast. But
It's
like
like-
you watch the other guys busting it trying to catch him, they can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like watching Vince Young when he was at Texas, when he would like get moving.
He just
and
kinda
you're like, he's
glides.
just gliding.
Yeah.
And, oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah, yeah.
it's cool watching players that can run like that.
I listened to a podcast yesterday, and they were asking if you would try to tackle him for $1 million.
No,
Nah.
no. If that
Value
dude
your
was
life?
I'm not.
full barrel at me, no.
Yeah, all I know is my KMID life insurance will not cover.
Getting murdered by Derrick Henry.
Yeah. What about Lamar? This is the second year in a row where, maybe not the fall like there was this year
Yeah.
from regular season to postseason, but it's the second year in a row where he has severely underperformed in a big game, in a playoff game. Do you guys think this is a narrative that might stick with him, or do you think? Because even going out of last year, the narrative was that he was
22.
busty, and then of course he
Yeah.
had an amazing regular season this year.
Yeah.
He's 22.
I was
I
gonna say
would
he's still
say-
so young.
He's 22 or 23.
And,
He
I
just
mean,
got
aside from 2 interceptions when they fell behind, 31 of 59, 365 yards, and then 20 carries for 143 yards. So I think the interceptions make it feel like a worse game, and the fumble than it was. But yeah, I think the future's still bright
Oh,
for Mr. Jackson.
He has
Still
15
probably
years
the
left.
MVP
He'll
of
figure
regular
it out.
season.
He's got to be the MVP.
Yeah.
Has to be the MVP. In my opinion.
Do we have to talk about it?
Next game, Aaron, I'll let you lead. What do you want to say about the Chiefs before we
Texans
go?
Okay.
And the Chiefs.
Well, everyone keeps talking about how the Texans blew this, 24-0 lead. But I think what people don't understand is that it was basically the Chiefs beating themselves there in that first quarter.
It was
Lots
largely-
of dropped passes, that muffed punt.
Yep.
That's potentially 2 scores right there that I can even think of off the top of my head.
Yep.
So the fact that they came, and honestly,
the
as a
second
Chiefs
quarter.
fan, I wasn't even like, oh my God, no, we're gonna lose. I don't think anyone.
I wasn't worried about
The
it.
stadium did not seem upset.
No.
Like they were getting crowd shots and stuff, and the fans are still drinking beer and having a good time. I was like, oh God, the Chiefs are gonna win this game.
That's like the effect of Patrick Mahomes. They can score a ton of points really quick. It's kind of like having followed Texas Tech for a little while. Similar to them. Now they can't stop anybody, but aside from that, if you're down 21, you're not worried that 24 points is going to be enough to beat you, even if you're scoreless after the first
Yeah.
quarter.
And even after Travis Kelce came out, or the times that they were double teaming him, they were still able to give it off to other people to score the
Kelsey was
ball.
a man in
He
that
is.
second quarter. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
he was
He
just
is a
bullying.
Oh, my
beast.
Oh.
But
Now, I think you're right. Credit to the Chiefs, and got to give all the love to them. But to cover that up within the first half, amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it didn't
sad.
even matter at halftime
Yeah.
that they were down 24
Oh, yeah.
nothing. They were up 4.
yeah,
They were down 24-0 in the second quarter.
Yeah.
At the start of the second quarter. But we got to listen. The Texans. I think they have been so let off by the Dallas Cowboys that, especially in this area, people, rightfully criticize the Cowboys for never living up to expectations. I put out what I thought was a very good tweet. It got 3 likes. But the Texans have been such letdowns the entire history of their franchise, and they get, I don't know if they get let off the hook because the Cowboys suck out all the NFL oxygen in the state, but no one criticizes the Texans as much as the Cowboys, even though they're arguably much more disappointed year in, year out.
The problem is the Texans have won 4 out of 6 divisional titles. If you're
In a
winning divisional titles,
Garbage division.
it is bad division.
but
if
so
you're
is the
Shout out to
NFC
those
East.
Yeah, so is the NFC East. Yeah.
True.
If you're
And the
winning
Cowboys didn't
divisional
even win that
titles,
this
you
year.
The Cowboys
can't
have
get
more
that
talent.
upset. Because that is the bar. I feel like that is the bar in the NFL. If you can win your division and make the playoffs, and what else can you ask? I think Bill O'Brien's a good coach. They just can't put it together in the second round.
I mean,
But I don't know.
I don't know.
They made it farther than last year, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
getting
after
better.
getting whooped by the Colts, that was really bad. I remember one of their
Oh, I
wins.
remember that. Oh.
One of their playoff wins was at home against the Raiders after Derek Carr died on the field.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there. And I mean, they're I guess maybe marginally better recently, but they're anywhere from 7-9 to 9-7, 10-16. That literally they've never gone past the divisional round. They'll maybe win a wild card game and then they'll lose, book it. And I don't know. I feel frustration on behalf of the Houston fans that they're kind of in that purgatory area where they're too good to blow it up, but they're clearly not good enough to just go over the top.
And where it's a travesty what they're doing is because when you say they're just too good to not blow it up, that is only because they have a transcendently good quarterback.
Yes,
Yeah.
and a coach who his whole thing is working with quarterbacks.
Yes,
Well,
they
and
have not
DeAndre
given him an
Hopkins.
offensive line. They have not given him
yeah.
a quality running game. They have an elite wide receiver, and other than that, they got some fast guys who can
Fuller,
catch deep
yeah.
balls.
They have some playmaker. I mean, obviously J.J. Watt, and year in year out, they usually have a few
J.J.
pretty
Watt's
solid.
hurt 90% of the time.
Yeah, his
anyway.
durability is a bit of an issue. Yeah, but defensively they've had Whitney Merciless, Jonathan Joseph. They've had some guys at times who have been fairly A.J. Bouye, fairly decent playmakers.
Yeah.
But
Well, and then they had Clowney, and they at least are trying to bolster the offensive line by trading
for Tunsil,
another huge talent on maybe the second most important position in the field,
Yeah.
tackling the quarterback.
Yeah. I just I think I think the Texans get let off way too easily for consistently having not only letdown moments but letdown games altogether.
Speaking of Clowney, Packers, Seahawks. I'm a Packers fan.
I was gonna say.
I was happy for that. But my favorite play of the game was watching the Griffin brothers from UCF.
Yes.
Watching
yes.
them get that sack on Aaron Rodgers together, and then
True
they
Packers.
celebrated together. I was
Yeah, that was pretty
I was
cool.
like, we're winning this game. It doesn't matter
It's
that much. And I was
cool.
like,
Yeah,
yes,
go
that's
ahead,
so
live it
cool.
up.
Yeah, that's a really cool moment. And not to take away from the game, I think it was you and I were talking about it. Remember when he was playing rock, paper, scissors?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, that was
Rock
fun.
paper scissors. Then went with the.
Not to take too much away from the game, but
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
rock, paper, scissors, you don't know what he's playing.
These NFC games were pretty boring.
Well, he
but
did
so-
it with the other hand
Yeah,
for the first
these games
two,
were
and
these
then
games
he
were pretty much chalk. I mean, we saw.
Well, until the end of the Packers Seahawks
It got a
game.
little tight. It
Yeah,
got a
the
little
second
tight.
half.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
I felt
Still,
Still,
bad.
that's more entertaining than the 49ers. Oh,
I do feel
49ers
like-
Vikings game.
Hold on there, Tiger.
the Packers, though, that's how they win games, though. They get up and then they barely cling on, and it's really ugly, and that's why I think they're going to play in the Super Bowl. But, I mean, I don't know. And then
I hope they beat the 49ers.
49ers so much better than the Vikings. Kirk Cousins is not a franchise
Oh, yeah.
quarterback. Sorry. But, yeah, I mean, those games were chalk. But let's get into our picks for next week because we got to get this going.
Do we think Titans have any chance in Kansas City? Ben, I'll start with you because I know which way I think you're going to lead.
I'll say, give me the Chiefs. But again, the whole thing with them is if they can run the ball, which Aaron, I don't know, you probably know better than I don't know how good their run defense has been, Kansas City.
It's not very good. That's the
I didn't
thing.
think it was great.
Yeah.
So if they can run the ball, shorten the game, anything can already happen in an NFL game, but especially in a shortened game.
You
So
know who was supposed to have a good run defense, right? It was the Baltimore Ravens.
yes. So
We saw how that worked.
that's
So maybe the Kansas City
and,
Chiefs will have
and
the opposite.
Titans take care of the ball really well.
year.
I still like the Chiefs, but I would not be surprised if it's at least a low-scoring, close game.
What's your pick?
I mean, I had the Ravens in the Super Bowl, so I don't know how much my opinion is worth, but I'll take the Chiefs by 10.
All right.
I got to go Chiefs too, obviously.
Chiefs Kingdom.
Like we just mentioned, rush defense isn't very good though, and the Chiefs typically choke in the playoffs. So
Yep. I'm going Chiefs, but I really wouldn't be. I'm going to probably bet Titans money line just because it's good value. Okay, Packers, 49ers, quick.
Oh, God, I pass. I don't care about
Pass.
either of these teams.
Pass.
I'll go 49ers, just
49ers
because
at
I'm a
home.
Bears fan, but
I am a Bears fan. Aaron Rodgers is the best football player
He's
I've
going back
ever
home.
seen.
That's
Green Bay
true.
wins.
Going
Oh,
back
yeah.
to the Bay.
Yeah, back to the Bay. I'm going to say the 49ers are probably going to win it, but I'm cheering for the Packers. So
yeah,
I
I
have
think
the
49ers
Packers.
too.
I would
have the
say.
Packers.
I
Healthy
guess
defense. Yeah.
I think too much inexperience from the 49ers.
We'll
The
see if the
49ers
Rodgers
won
family-
37
At all levels, from general manager to head coach to quarterback to skill position players, your O-line, zero experience.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see if the Rodgers fans shows up because, as we saw on The Bachelorette a few seasons ago, apparently
Oh yeah,
there's a
Jordan.
little, I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
JoJo, but apparently there's a little bit of something. I don't know.
All right, Jake, take us
Should we
out.
wrap it up? All right, guys, that will wrap up this edition of Final Score Overtime. Sadly, of course, as we've mentioned, there will be no more college football this season. It'll make it all more exciting for next year. And stay with us next week as we break down our recaps of the divisional championship games.